Okay. Hold. Right turn. March. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4. Sir, the colors are present. Post colors. Ready, step. Ready, down. Right, face. Forward, march, left. 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 Right, left. Left.
You may be seated. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us on this very special Legacy Day here at St. Philip's College. We have a wonderful day in store for you, but we are starting the day with the most auspicious occasion, and that is paying tribute to a long-standing icon in our community. I am pleased and honored to say thank you to the very special JBS Joint Base San Antonio Color Guard for the posting of the colors. You have also heard from the 323rd U.S. Band this morning, and we look forward to hearing more from them. So a round of applause to the band as well. Thank you. We are here to dedicate and honor the memory of Colonel Roy W. Burley, Sr. Especially, I would like to begin by acknowledging members of the St. Philip's College or the Alamo Colleges District Board of Trustees. We have our board chair present, Mr. Zarate, and a board member, Dr. Katz. Also present, and we're very, very honored to have the 8th president of St. Philip's College, Dr. Gloria Jackson. She need not stand. And the mayor of Live Oak, Mary Dennison. Thank you for being here. Roy W. Burley was born on October 29, 1923, in Hallettsville, Texas, to Robert Burley and Beatrice Woodard Burley. He was educated in the San Antonio Independent School District and graduated from Phyllis Wheatley High School here on the East Side in 1940. He went to Prairie View A&M College, now Prairie View A&M University. During this time, he met his college sweetheart, Lillian Snow of Houston, and they were married on March the 26th, 1945. Their union endured for 72 years, more than 7 decades. And they were blessed with Joanne, Roy Jr., Ronald, and Nan, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We are excited to have them all here with us today. Colonel Burley earned 2 college degrees, a Bachelor of Science degree in Education from the University of Nebraska, Omaha, and a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Education from Prairie View A&M University. He completed further studies at the University of Texas at San Antonio in Human Resources Management. He was a pillar in San Antonio, advocating for underserved populations and promoting career and technical training opportunities. He played a pivotal role in the establishment of the Texas Diabetes Institute, one of the nation's premier diabetic treatment and research centers. Colonel Burley was a life member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the Prairie View A&M University National Alumni Association, and the Retired Officers Association. Colonel W. Burley Sr. peacefully passed away on April the 20th, 2017. This oak tree stands on the old Burley homestead and brought decades of enjoyment to the Colonel's children, grandchildren, friends, and family. It is fitting to honor him in a space that brought him so much joy. This day, we have the privilege of being blessed with having such a high-ranking official, the most high-ranking military official here in our community, to help us celebrate the career of the Colonel Roy Burley. Accompanying him is also, we do have in our presence today, a member of his team, Representative, excuse me, the Command Sergeant Major Philip Barreto. So with that, let me introduce to you the Lieutenant General John R. Evans, Jr. He is here to celebrate Colonel Burley's military career. The Lieutenant General Evans is Commander, United States Army North, 5th Army, headquartered at Fort Sam Houston. The U.S. Army North is the Theater Army and Army Services Component Command of the U.S. Northern Command, the Geographic Combatant Command of North America. U.S. Army North's mission is homeland defense, defense support of civil authorities, and theater security corporation. Lieutenant General Evans was commissioned in 1988 as a distinguished military graduate from the Appalachian State University in North Carolina and is a graduate of the United States Army Command and General Staff College. He holds a Master of Arts degree in Adult Education from Kansas State University and a Master of Arts degree in National Security and Strategic Studies from the U.S. Naval War College. Lieutenant General Evans and his wife, Carolyn, have 2 daughters. Please join me in welcoming Lieutenant General John Evans.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Dr. Lassen, for that wonderful introduction. Madam Mayor, Madam President, members of the board, special guests, thanks for being here this morning for a very special time. I want to particularly recognize the members of Colonel Burley's family. It was great to meet you all, and his son in particular, who is a Vietnam veteran, so please give him a hand for his service to our country. I'll start my remarks by saying that I did not have the privilege of knowing Colonel Burley. Unfortunately, he passed before I arrived in the San Antonio area. But having read about his military career and his post-military career in service to this community, I'm quite certain that had I met him, I would have enjoyed that experience. And I think I would have taken much from time and conversation with him. As I reviewed his military record and looked at his background, it was really amazing to me. You may not realize it, but there is a very small part of our population, quickly diminishing, that was born in a very special time in our country. Most of those folks were born in about the 1920s, which lined them up for service in not 1, not 2, but potentially 3 conflicts in our nation. Of the over 500 million people who have served our country since its inception in 1775, only 171,000 served during the period of World War II, Korea, and the Vietnam War. And fewer still actually saw service in all 3 of those conflicts. But Colonel Burley was one of those folks. Now, that would be amazing in and of itself, but for the fact that he faced the additional stress and strain of being an African American during a time when that was not an easy task in this country, when racial divides led to segregation of our forces. But he arose above that. He served with distinction, and he forged a path for those that would come behind him that is being followed today by young men and women of color in our nation, in our national defense infrastructure, and in our military services. From the time that he entered Prairie View A&M College and enlisted in the enlisted corps there, and was sought out and recognized for his intellect, his character, his integrity, and his potential, and moved on to Howard University, one of our oldest historical black colleges and universities, who really pioneered the Black Officer Training Corps for our Army. He served there with a group of folks that would become known as the Prometheans. These were young men who had been trained to be Army officers who went off to segregated units in World War II and fought with incredible courage and gained many wartime decorations for valor. After his time at Howard, he went through the Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning, Georgia, once again recognized for his leadership capability before he deployed to the Pacific with the 372nd Infantry Regiment, an all-black infantry regiment that acquitted itself well during World War II in the Pacific in the fight against the Japanese. He would come back and continue to conduct himself and serve in multiple roles across our Army, working in the European Command, working in the Pacific Command, working as an instructor in ROTC units. And I'm very fond of that particular element of Colonel Burley's past because in my last job, I had the privilege of commanding all of the Army's ROTC. So I know how demanding that task is, and I know how important it is to put the right leaders in charge of those units, developing and forming the young men and women that will serve in our Army Officer Corps. But duty called again, and he was pulled into Korea where he served with the 9th Infantry Regiment, one of our most storied regiments in the Army's history, the Manchus. This is the regiment that served at places like Heartbreak Ridge and Pork Chop Hill. After his return from Korea, he continued to serve, moving his family around the Army, serving on the Army staff, serving once again in the Pacific until Vietnam came along, where he had the opportunity to serve as an advisor to Thai forces and was instrumental in shaping the leadership on the battlefield in Vietnam. His son, Roy Jr., actually served with him in Vietnam, a very rare occurrence to be able to serve with 2 generations in the same conflict. Before he came back home again and continued his career in the early 70s, finally landing at United States Army North, which was then 5th Army, here in the Quadrangle at Fort Sam Houston. And it is poignant to me, again, with my connections to Army ROTC and my connections as the 5th Army Commander, that in his last assignment, he led as the director of this district for ROTC out of 5th Army. Once again, leaning back into the thing that he was best at, shaping leaders of character, shaping leaders of integrity, and serving with honor. So it's been my real privilege to be able to learn a little bit about your father and his service to our nation, and then the incredible things he did in his post-military career to assist this community, to grow it, to open it up, and to make it a place of tolerance and welcome for all people. And so as we stand here today, I can't help but be taken back by the fact that I'm looking at this magnificent oak tree that I'm sure each of you had an opportunity to swing from or play under when you were kids. And I think about the fact that we're going to dedicate this tree to him and how fitting that is, because it really speaks to me about the person that I believe Colonel Roy Burley was. Just like this tree, roots are deep. The bark is scarred from both great times and also terrible and tragic times that he had to endure. And the branches spread out widely across this area, just like his reach across all of the leaders that he touched, all of the men and women that he led, all of the folks that he inspired, and the leaves which will provide shade for the students that will continue to come here and realize that this tree is emblematic of his leadership, his standing in this community, and what he stood for all of us. So in United States Army, North and 5th Army, our motto is strength of the nation. And as I look at this tree and I think about your father, and I think about Colonel Burley, I can think of no one who better exemplifies the strength of the nation than Colonel Roy Burley. It was my privilege to be able to stand up and talk for just a few minutes about all that he accomplished and all that he did to serve our country and this community. Thank you. Strength of the nation.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. We provided him with a cheat sheet of notes. The general didn't need any notes. Now, he said he didn't know Colonel Burley, but I don't believe that. Because how would you know all of these things and be able to call them to memory without missing a beat? I think they do have kindred spirits. Somewhere up there, they've been connected somewhere. We are so honored. When we put this program together, our feeble presentation was just us talking about Colonel Burley. But when he heard about Colonel Burley, they're saying, no, 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 I'll be here. We need to step in. And so St. Philip's College was just happy to stand back, stand down, and let the real people, the Lieutenant General and his entire entourage, to be in charge. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to recognize right now we have two other members of our board that are here, Dr. Sprague and Gloria Ray, members of our Board of Trustees as well. It is now my honor and my privilege to invite the Burley family to give a response to what they have just heard and to share with us about the family. So as I invite, I'm not sure if Nan and Roy are coming up, and it's just both of you coming up, and I think Nan is going to make the presentation. And followed by that, we will have the plaque unveiling, which will be Nan, Roy, myself, and the General, Lieutenant General.
Thank you, General Evans. Not much for me to say right now, but I would like to share a little bit more about our family history. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Nan Burley Ritchie, and I'm the proud daughter of Colonel Roy W. Burley, Sr. With me is my brother, Roy Burley, Jr., and he is a graduate of St. Philip's College, and he worked here as well, and his daughter, Juliet, just is a recent graduate of St. Philip's. So this is truly, truly an honor today. This beautiful 100-plus-year-old tree is, again, deeply rooted and a symbol of strength and longevity. It represents the longevity of an African-American family, my family, the Burley family. It also represents deep roots in the community and a strong connection with St. Philip's College. I'm going to share a little bit of history. The legacy began when my father, Colonel Roy W. Burley, Sr., professionally and affectionately known to most of you as the Colonel, and then those in the neighborhood here on the east side as Brother. They moved here from Schulenburg, Texas in the 20s, and as a very young boy. The family purchased this property that stretched all the way to another street now that's part of St. Philip's College, and that was kind of unheard of in those days. That property, I kept a lot of the deeds, and some of it was sold off, but when my dad was a boy here, there were at least 3 lots with this tree. And my husband reminded me that he told a story about how the neighborhood boys would play baseball, their little version of baseball. And whoever hit the ball and it landed on top of the tree got a home run. But of course, he loved climbing the tree. It was all about the tree. So it's only fitting that when he asked that the tree remain here after he sold the property. My father lived here with Robert Burley, who started a dry cleaning business in the neighborhood, and his mother, Beatrice B., referred to, and his sister, James Marcel, known as Jimmy, or Sister. They were the pillars of a very strong and vibrant East Side community that produced many of our city's leaders. Some of my relatives subsequently moved forward and moved to the neighborhood, some of them on the same street. After a divorce, my grandmother, B., a community activist and entrepreneur, lived in the home with her grandmother, we called Mama Lou, and a very strong matriarchal household. They raised young Roy and sister Jimmy, and her grandmother, my great-grandmother, worked very hard, and they also were strong members of the National Council of Negro Women. They had many meetings here. She entertained socially and hosted many domino games as well. That was very popular. I was told that Congressman Henry B. Gonzalez launched his first political campaign on this property. My father and his sister graduated from Phyllis Wheatley High School. My dad, Roy, attended Prairie View A&M, and now the university. And as you have heard, he was a distinguished, decorated, and military command officer in many posts, and married his sweetheart, my mother, Lillian Snow of Houston. My Aunt Jimmy, his sister, graduated from Houston Tillotson College and was married to Oliver Sutton and later William Hayward, where she traveled the world with family and 3 boys as the military spouse. Other family members lived in the property through the years for 4 generations. My mother gave birth to her first 3 children over at Brooke General Hospital, and my dad was deployed. So the first 3 children had the privilege, and my brother here, I think, attended first grade right around the neighborhood. My grandmother married Daniel Clay in 1951, moved to Houston, and then moved back here in 1971, still keeping the home. Upon her return, she immediately renovated the whole property with guest suites for anybody who needed a place to stay, including relatives and my brother when he came back from Vietnam. He became a very active community leader, as you know, with his priority of creating a better quality of life for the residents of East San Antonio, mainly in job training and also in health care. Accessibility to health care was still an issue on the east side, and he made that one of his main priorities, serving on the board for Bexar County Hospital District. He was a member of many nonprofit organizations, worked tirelessly with them, fraternal organization in his beloved St. Paul United Methodist Church, with still serving in different boards of trustees. The accolades are too many to mention. This tree and property also represents a safe, loving haven while learning of our family legacy for many members of my family, my brother, my late brother, Ronald, my late sister, Joan Burley O'Neill, including my cousins, the late Oliver Sutton. Rita Sutton is here, my forever cousin, and former member of the St. Philip's faculty and staff. I love spending time here at St. Philip's. I was one of those students that was probably here most summers getting extra credits, and I did work at the dean's office for a while, and I tell people that was the best job I ever had, working for Dr. T.R. Williams. My mother also taught at St. Philip's as well in the evenings, and she enjoyed that as well. I don't remember all the details of the sale of the property on South Walters to St. Philip's, but I do remember my father requested that old oak tree not be removed from the property as a condition of the sale. The tree is where, again, he played, dreamed about his life, and possibly there were some environmental issues there and reasons for the tree, him wanting to keep that tree. But I believe I understand why and what it means to a family legacy. Again, we are delighted for this honor. I know my father would have been thrilled. I would like to thank Dr. Adina Lawson, Dr. Sharon Crockett Ray for bringing this honor to fruition. And thank you again to Lieutenant General Evans. On behalf of the family, I would like to give a contribution to St. Philip's that will be matched by State Farm Foundation.
Let's get over here and get a picture.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you. This is quite unexpected, but we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. So we will now move to the unveiling for the tree. as we said, and then the board members will flank us.